Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and I must say that whatever be the subject that we talk about, ultimately we are talking about life and how we embrace life and what are our aspirations. And when we say we in this context today, we are talking about how India is perceiving its work culture. Is there any difference from the previous generation to this generation in terms of how they want to embrace life? What are their priorities? Why all this is becoming the talk of the town relates to the statement made by Narayan Murthy ji, and what is that statement? Why controversy, and why so many TV channels are having debates on 70-hour work week? I have the pleasure of welcoming someone who needs no introduction now for our viewers. Dr. Sudhir Bisht, namaste and
Namaste.
welcome. So while we are at the 70-hour work week reference, uh, why it became so much the focus of attention for everybody. Kindly share how this all started.
Yeah, thank you, Ashokji, for having me on your show. Actually, this was a innocuous kind of a podcast which was happening on some channel, and I think it was a website. Mr. Narayan Murthy, as you know, is the one of the most respected businessmen, not only IT businessman, but generally one of the most respected Indians in the world. He is also the father-in-law of Mr. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, and many people call him the founding father, the father of Indian IT industry. Although I don't consider him that. The father of Indian IT industry was Mr. Fakir Chand Kohli, the co-founder of TCS. But Mr. Narayan Murthy is an iconic figure. So during the podcast, Mr. Mohandas Pai, who was formerly a director in Infosys, and he's a great venture capitalist now, and he's known for his very moderate right-wing views. He asked a question to Mr. Narayan Murthy about the work ethics in India. And Mr. Murthy said, I wish my countrymen, especially young professionals, they say, this is my country and I want to work 70 hours a week and I want to take this country forward. So actually, he meant it in a good way. He meant it in a positive way. But there was an uproar, and Abhijit Iyer Mitra, and a lot of other people who have very wide following. They took it up from there, and then they said, the Indian IT sector is people are already working so hard, and there is something called work life balance.
So let me interrupt you here, and we'll go back to the statements made by people like Abhijit and others, how they responded. But what is your opinion in terms of the spirit with which he responded to Mohandas Pai? And I also heard Mohandas Pai mentioning it in some TV debate about the context in which this statement was made. So this looks like a very harmless, inspiring statement coming from a heart which is resonating with the aspirational India and who wants to see India progress. And like if I, it was said in a friendly manner. It was not like a dictator speaking that, oh, you got to do this like that. So why people kind of go away from the spirit in which this reference was made?
Okay, very, very interesting. Uh, he said it in a positive manner from his perspective. However, if you see generally the state of affairs in the Indian IT industry, the domestic demand is tremendous. It is growing because Indian domestic industry is growing. But if you see companies like Infosys, Wipro, HCL, which depend upon the foreign orders, for example, TCS and Infosys and Wipro and HCL, they make most of their money from the overseas markets of America and Europe. The orders from those countries have kind of reduced, and there has been some kind of a turmoil going on in the IT industry. And on an average IT worker in India, actually he works very hard. So he already works 9 hours a day. So if you see 9 5s are 45, 9 to 10 hours a day he works. So he works in any case for 50 hours. Then there is commuting time, and even once he comes back, During the weekends, he has to open his laptop and he has to work, because remember, if he is working on a project, he is responding to the needs of the overseas client. So I did a small survey. I spoke to around 23 people, and I found out that most of the people say, "Hey, Mr. Murthy does not know that we are already working almost 65 to 70 hours a week." On the other hand, what Mr. Murthy, perhaps, perhaps, it was a case of, people making a mountain uh, out of a molehill. But in these times of social media, for somebody like Mr. Narayan Murthy, people latch on to every word. He is one of the most brilliant minds of India. Every time India goes for the presidential election, there is a hue and cry that Mr. Murthy should be made the president of India. He's so erudite, he's so nice, he's seen as a loving father and a loving husband. Somebody wants to give it to the community. So people were shocked and surprised that it coming from Infosys. And of late, IT companies don't have a very good record in terms of paying its worker, or some students who passed out from their college, and when they were given appointment letters, they had to wait for 6 months to 7 months to 8 months to onboard. So that
So
is
yeah,
the background.
yeah. Allow me to sort of take a detour from here, and looking at the number of hours is probably not the ideal way to measure the quality, output, and efficiency. Yet this is
Absolutely.
a yardstick which one may refer, like the way that conversation was happening. But the question to you, Sudhir, you have been an entrepreneur as well as you have served in the corporate world. So when
Right.
you are an employee, your involvement with work, based on what are you going to get out of it, would be different as compared to if you are an entrepreneur. So where he is coming from is more as an entrepreneur who owns it. Rather,
Right.
there is more sense of identification. And when ideally speaking, there is a need to have a match between individual's aspiration to organizational aspiration.
Right.
But in absence of that, this statement may not be received in the correct spirit. Am I right in analyzing it this way?
You are 100% right, and you have hit the nail on the head. Actually, there is a difference between the mentality of an employee and between the mentality of a business owner. You have to understand, when you talk of productivity, and when you say that the productivity of an average Indian is 3 times or 4 times lower than the productivity of a, let us say, a French worker, what are you saying? What are you meaning to say? When these kind of studies are done on productivity, you take everything into account. You don't take just IT sector into account, you also take agriculture sector into account. Now you see, in OECD countries, the agriculture is highly mechanized. It is highly mechanized. So what one farmer can do with his tractor, and this is an era of autonomous tractors, tractors which are self driven and somebody is controlling it. So, but naturally, the amount or the acre of field that you will plow using an autonomous tractor will be much, 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 much higher than the amount of field that you will plow with a traditional tractor, with an old tractor, or even without tractor. So when you take productivity of countries as a whole, Mr. Murthy made a error in judgment. He should not have commented on the official figures of productivity which are churned out by, let us say, World Bank, or any other research body. That is a country's productivity. India lives in villages. 65% of India lives in villages. In villages, there is very little mechanization. For example, let us take the case of an engineer who is working on management of, let us say, 1,000 sites. While in France, it is possible for a Alcatel, erstwhile Alcatel guy, to be managing 1,000 sites by sitting at home and monitoring it on, in his office. It is not there. The standard of remote monitoring of sites or engineering sites, it is not so much prevalent in India. So naturally, the productivity of India will be lower. So productivity, and you also said that productivity is not measured only in terms of number of hours, but in terms of final output which you give. It is an accepted fact that the productivity of an Indian IT employee is among the highest in the world. So that is why the IT sector,
Yeah,
yes,
sorry again. So let me use this phrase. वो हिंदी में हम कई बार बात करते हैं कि कमर कस के काम करना चाहिए. तो उसका लिटरली मतलब ये नहीं होता कि आप कमर कस के ही काम करें. I mean, that means it is the approach with which you are working. So 70 hours a week, I think it is to suggest that you work harder or you give more of your concentration, focus, etc. That is how I would look at it based on the way I heard from Mohan as Pai ji. Uh, but then again,
Ashok ji, you
allow
have
me
to
to
understand. Yeah,
yeah, allow me to bring another side to it. The kind of environment which we have now as compared to 20 years ago or 30 years ago is different, and many times you have your office walking with you in your pocket wherever you are going. So
yeah,
if
I
you
know.
start measuring the number of hours that you are putting in general in most of the companies, you are actually putting in more hours because
Absolutely right.
your colleague is sending you a text, oh man, in this what do I do, then you are replying sitting in a restaurant. So that is also a part of the work hour that you have, or your boss calls
100%.
you late at night 11 p.m. something, and then you are responding late night, etc. So I think the world has totally changed. How do you see this difference from the way it used to be and the way it is now?
Ashokji, see the way you have analyzed it, because you are a senior person. You have seen the world, you have gone through the drill, you have worked at a brass tack level, you have gone up, you have risen through ranks, and you have achieved this position. So you can understand, I know from where you are coming. See, let us look at it is a matter of differing generations. As you know, the generation to which Mr. Murthy belongs, it is called the silent generation. Silent generation is a generation which was, recovering after the World War II, and it was silent in terms of expressing itself. It was silent in terms of, giving it was silent in terms of defining and telling the entire world what it wants. It was a silent generation. So that generation of Narayan Murthy was different. Those people were working out of 24 hours like the people in Japan used to work. Out of 24 hours, they will work 18 hours, 19 hours, 20 hours every day. But after the silent, why did silent generation work so hard? The next generation, which is called in sociology, it is called the baby boomers. So after silent generation, so 77-year-old belongs to silent generation. Then baby boomers. So baby boomer, perhaps baby boomer is a generation which stops just. Uh, it's a generation just senior from you and I. And then so baby boomer generation was when people were producing babies in Western countries, not in India. The times were more affluent. So when times are more affluent, see today in France or in UK or in Germany, people are going for 4 day a week work instead of 5 day. So and because IT workers, they constantly work with foreign clients, they work on foreign projects. They understand that if you send a email to somebody in UK on a Saturday, he will not respond to you. They are all on vacation on Saturday and Sunday. So that's why it hurts more. So I think Mr. Narayan Murthy, his intentions, he's a very noble person. Uh, Absolutely, I put my hand on my heart and say he can mean no harm to anyone. But he should have been very careful with his word. This is a word of
Here,
social media.
here is the question, Sudhir. When you are saying he should have been, which I understand why are you saying that, but look at his age, look at the vantage point from where he is looking, and
I
again,
know.
there is no doubt that his heart is in sync with the growth of individuals as well as the nation. So my
Yes.
question to you is, why do not we have enough of stretched space of understanding among youth? Because I also came across some very critical comments about very very sort of a statement coming with a lot of good wishes, I would say, for everyone, but people felt hurt. And I'm trying to understand, because the way you did your research interacting with so many people, what was the main objection that you think they were having against this? apparently innocent statement.
Yes. So as I explained to you, this is a generation of Gen X and millennium generation, and after that we have Generation Z, which is very mercurial. So this is we are living in an era of multiple dating and quick divorces. India Tinder is a very popular app in India. So what I am trying to say is that the this space for an appreciation for an elderly gentleman saying something from a pedestal which is very different, to appreciate that is very tough. Second thing, you have to understand that young men and women, they are very aspirational. Like, I will give you an example. I spoke to a Delhi University teacher, and she teaches history in a college, and she is around 45 years of age. She's a PhD from Delhi University, and she has been a lecturer or an assistant professor, as you say now, for the last 10 years, and she has not been confirmed yet. So every time there is summer vacation, she is sent on leave. So she earns a salary only for 10 days, only for 10 months.
And
And the salary she is collecting is maybe 70,000 rupee a month. And she is teaching the brightest minds of the brightest students of Delhi who are studying history honors. So, how will that person react? You have to understand both sides. While people must have more empathy for an old man who has achieved so much and who has given so much to India. Let's accept it. People like Ajim Premji and Shiv Nadar and Narayan Murthy and Ratan Tata, they have done a yeoman service for the nation. On the other hand, you have to understand people in this rat eat rat world who are there for 10 years and you're not yet confirmed. See, an IT worker in Infosys, as I was explaining to you, the starting salary is 3.6 lakhs. So 30,000 rupees per month. So if you give somebody 30,000 rupees per month, you give, can you expect that person to work 72 hours? There's 70 hours a week. So there has to be, okay, you are giving, there was a guy called Sikka, Vishal Sikka, who was the CEO. He was making around 20 crore rupees a year. He should work, why 24 hours? He should work 26 hours a week. You know,
day.
he should work 100 hours a week. Why should he work only 70 hours a week? So your expectations have to be in sync with the rewards which people are getting. See, today the cost of a
Okay,
cylinder, and
yeah. Let me move to the other parallel side to it. I
right,
think earlier, if you look at an average Indian family, you were rarely going out to restaurants to eat, and there was no provision of ordering and sort of getting food from outside as frequently as it is happening in most of the
true,
homes that I see in India. So
agreed,
this world has totally changed. I mean, there's more spending happening, so which overall is probably serving well to the economy in general. But as far as value system is concerned, it's a different world now. And I was referring to the parallel track. So which means I think young mind is more intelligent on certain level of appreciating life with different compartments. So they want to enjoy also, and while working also they want to enjoy, because they don't want to wait. In our generation, I mean, many people felt that once I have achieved this, then I will do this. But that equation doesn't work. Your physical capacity reduces as you grow older, so you cannot travel, you cannot enjoy traveling as you would during youth. So to bring back in nutshell, the question is, young boys and girls, while working, they want to enjoy also, and they have more opportunities to enjoy. I'm talking to you from New York right now. You're sitting in Delhi. Earlier there were very few Indians who were traveling abroad. Now every home, either somebody is based outside or they are traveling, if not to European and America. I mean, so it's a different world altogether.
that's
And
true.
so again, bringing this in the context of 70-hour work, looks like it doesn't fit in the new scheme of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. And there is so much talk of work life balance. And, uh, for example, in European countries, like in US, where is the work-life balance in US today? There is very little work-life balance. In Japan, where is the work-life balance? In China, where is the work-life balance? People are already under pressure. People are already under pressure. They have long hours of working, especially, the students. I teach MBA, I take MBA classes, and the first thing which students want to know is, how many days of does this company offer a 5 day week, or do they have a, so nobody wants to go to a factory, nobody wants to become a HR officer in a factory, because factory cannot have a 5 day week, factory has to have 6 day week. Then another point which actually many of the uh, writers have missed, and I take the liberty of saying so because I also teach I also teach labor laws uh, when I teach strategic management. I teach part of labor law. See, in India is governed by Factories Act. Factories Act is, uh, labor is also, it's a concurrent subject. State governments also can make laws. Central government can make. So there are certain acts which are paramount. Factories Act 19, I think it is 1948. Yes, it says that every worker can work 48 hours a week. This is enshrined in India's labor codes. So 48 hour mean six. If you're working 6 days, so 8 into 6, 48. Anything beyond 48 hours, you need to pay wages which are double the rate than the average wages. So beyond 48 hours, you need to pay. Fortunately, all companies that I have worked for till now have been following these rules. But if you see small companies, small subcontractors to Infosys, small subcontractors to any company, they don't follow these rules. First of all, they work 12 hours. Every MSME company works 12 hour a day. So 12 6 6 to the 12 6 are 72. What Mr. Murthy forgot was many of his people who are associated in India already work 72 hour a week. For example, a factory worker works 72 hour a week in a private sector, not in a PSU.
So let me,
And
yeah,
yes,
sorry. No,
so already he missed that point. So that is why somebody told me, and I asked somebody, you are saying wages are low. I said wages are low because you see the phone in your hand. You say you're getting only 45,000 and you're carrying a iPhone 14. So he said, but then my forefathers were not wearing clothes; they were wearing banana leaves. So what are you saying? So see, young generation is not going to accept that because your generation went through hardship, my generation needs to go through hardship.
yeah. So
So
here,
they have
here
a
you see, yeah, we probably would be moving towards the concluding part, and the political leadership, does that play some role in sort of building a kind of a motivational environment as far as efficiency and work ethics are concerned? And here I bring the reference of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we keep hearing that he sleeps very little, and of course, you have not seen him taking any day off. Does
holiday.
that trickle down in some sort of energy among those who are working so that they have more sort of input?
Definitely. See, I used to live in a place called Moti Bagh in South Delhi. So Moti Bagh, if you go to Niti Marg and you stand on the bridge, which is on the railway museum side, you could find at 10 o'clock, IAS officer would take out their car going towards the secretariat. Now you find them rushing at 7:30. So if the prime minister is working hard, but people at senior level, they are expected to work hard. They are not expected to keep going to Uzbekistan and Thailand on frequent breaks. So this is what Let us take the case of why should we talk only of Modi? Indira Gandhi used to work very very hard. She would eat very little and she was a strict disciplinarian. So Narendra Modi has taken it to a altogether different level. But yes, if Narendra Modi ji expects everyone to be like him, and if he wants to enforce it, that will be a tough act, because not all his ministers also can put in. See, everybody is not a he's a true karma yogi. So perhaps, and he has no family, so perhaps he draws inspiration only from work, but not everybody can be like that. By the way, what you spoke about Narendra Modi, lot of Sajan Jindal, who's the CEO and the chairman of JSW, he has come out vehemently in support of Narayan Murthy, that people must work 70 hours a day. Same is true for Bhavish Agarwal, who's the CEO and founder of Ola Cabs. He has also said, look at the Prime Minister. Should we not be inspired? But see, inspiration is never thrusted upon you. For example, I personally I am inspired by many people, including like in some ways I was very inspired by Arun Jaitley, despite his failing health. And he did his best. He was juggling 2 3 portfolios, and he was also meeting the press. He was talking to his constituency. So I used to admire Arun Jaitley quite a lot. I would say even my favorite leader was Arun Jaitley. But suppose I work under Arun Jaitley and Arun Jaitley wants me to be as productive as him. So he's got different caliber. He's driven by a different force. By and large, people who are employees, they cannot have the same zeal. They cannot have the same energy level as the business people would have. So this is the mismatch between what Murthy ji said, and he said it innocently. Come on, man. I mean, Narayan Murthy will not berate people. He's a great guy. He's a simple soul.
So I think we move towards the concluding part with a general observation about our shrinking space in terms of appreciating and having enough patience to understand where someone is coming from. And it is
Right.
not just restricted to Narayan Murthy ji. It is in the political gambit also you see, as well as in several statements and then counter statements, and that somehow takes away your focus to grow uh, on the chosen track. So once again, I thank you, Dr. Sudhir Bisht, for joining us, and may we all look forward to a better future with our collective will and aspirations, whether in India or elsewhere. Uh, Having our focus on the larger good is definitely the way to go. So thank you, sir. Namaste.
Namaskar. Thank you very
And
much.
thanks to all of you for being a part of this.